hop on Instagram as well, see who's on there. Looking large. Crazy. Good morning. I'm hopping on here to answer some questions. I skipped my Monday at 10 a.m. and swapped it out for today because I will have more time. And so I'm just here for anyone who hops on and has questions. I'm also on YouTube. Good morning. Here to answer any questions that you guys have. Happy Thursday, almost Friday. My hair is a little wild. Good morning. Just here to answer any questions. Whew, it's toasty down here. Good morning. Thank you. I am feeling well, really well. I can't complain. You know, pregnancy requires more sleep, and that's pretty much the only thing that I've taken out of it. Obviously, my body is changing a lot, and I'm feeling that, but it's not like I'm in pain. I still have good energy. I still hit the gym every day. I actually haven't been posting those videos because it triggers people, and I get messages like I'm gonna cause a miscarriage, and so I've decided to speak about that after the baby. And yeah, it's just a topic that people are really triggered by, but I'm feeling really well. Hardly any nausea. Like, I had one day of nausea. I will say in the second trimester here, I was expecting like a spurt of energy because that's what you hear, but I had the opposite. I actually noticed I was more tired and more hungry, and I'm okay with that. So I am feeling really well. I hope you guys are doing well this morning. If you have any questions, please ask away. My retreat has picked back up. I had 3 people book the day before yesterday. It's filling up. So if you guys are interested in my upcoming retreat, it's going to be incredible. We have the Berries, Ken and Nisha Berry, Maria Emmerich, Kelly Hogan, Lisa Wiedemann, and it's just going to be, I mean, and the group of people who are already signed up are like, they're incredible. They are the backbone. They might not be Insta famous, but they're the backbone of this community. So like Cindy and Laura Lynch and Jackie, like, you know, I'm really honored to host them. I can't wait to just make it such a special time for everyone. People don't realize that as long as that was your routine before your pregnancy, it's fine. Exactly. And I have scaled cardio quite a bit. And yeah, I feel better when I work out, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. It's not like I'm doing it to look a certain way or because I'm hard on myself. It's because I enjoy it and I feel great and I feel strong. Sorry about this angle, YouTube. This tripod is pooping out on me. It will do. Oh man. Stinkers. Found this dress in the back of my closet and I haven't worn it yet. I got it from Amazon and it has pockets. So, questions, anyone? I would love to answer. Let's see what else is going on. I had a phone call with one of my very old friends this morning. We were best friends, and then I got sick and it kind of fell apart, and I even speak about it in my book. And we've just been kind of getting back in touch, so that's really exciting. And she's in North Carolina, where we are planning to move. We are on schedule to close on our house tomorrow. So that's really exciting. And we will be moving, if all goes well, we plan to move at the end of October, right after my retreat. So it's around the corner, and then baby comes in January. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see what else is going on. I did a really cool interview with Nisha Berry this past week on all things pregnancy, and it was super informative. She really encouraged me to get a doula, and Tyler is not down with that. He thinks that he can play that role, and he wants to be my support, and so that's something I'm just kind of praying about. I know that women are created to give birth. We're designed and meant to do it, so I don't think I need a doula, but I think that it could be really helpful and beneficial. I'd be curious, any of your thoughts, women, if you have or had not had a doula. Could you explore on appendix issues even years after surgery and large intestine issues? I'm not carnivore yet. So it's kind of hard to say. What I would encourage you to do is an anti-inflammatory diet. So a lot of people who have had surgery or medical procedures done even years ago are still dealing with not feeling like they fully recovered. And I hate to say that, but I hear it all the time. I don't think that our medical professionals take great care of us. Some do, and some don't. And so what I would say to you is try the carnivore diet, or try something that's a low insulin diet. Not like bottom out low, but lower than standard American diet. Cut out the seed oils. Depending on where you're at, you could just scale it. So, whatever you're currently eating, just maybe lower the sugar a little bit, or really dial in the types of fats that you're consuming. Cut out the plant and vegetable fats and focus on animal fats. That in itself will be anti-inflammatory to your gut and your whole body. Large intestine issues also could be largely due to your nutrition, so I would also dial into that. It is, if you want a diagnosis, you could always go see a gastroenterologist, but that's all they can provide. Their nutrition advice is the worst. They'll probably tell you to eat toast. So I would just recommend that you dial into your nutrition, because that's going to be the solution. I think that you're probably just dealing with something that is still dealing with inflammation after the fact. That would be my guess. I'm curious if you have had clients or how an understanding on the negative effects on having an appendix removal as it relates to overall health in the gut/colon. Any comment is appreciated. Yeah, so it causes inflammation to the body. It's a difficult process, and I have had clients with their appendix removed, multiple, but you can recover from it. It's nothing scary. It's no different than many other surgeries. So eating in a way to support that healing process in your body and your gut. So it's going to be animal fats, animal foods, and watching out for things that directly harm your gut, seed oils. And then anti-nutrients are also a big one, but I think those, first two, just focus on animal foods, remove the seed oils. People go a long way like that. It depends on the severity of the gut issues in the individual. There are often a lot of other things going on, after, if you're dealing with inflammation from having appendix removal, you could develop a new digestive issue. You could develop IBS, and so then you have to go further down the rabbit hole to address that. So it'll look different from person to person, but bottom line is nutrition is medicine if you use it properly. And it's not something to be scared of. How much time should we spend under the sun? If you're someone who doesn't go out in the sun at all, then I would definitely recommend starting slow and working yourself up, or else you might fry like a lobster. So it depends on where you're located and how bright are those rays, how strong are they. That really matters. And also depends on the person. Some people don't tolerate heat the same, but I personally try to get 30 minutes of sun every day. And sometimes it's only 15 minutes. I have been definitely more sensitive to heat during this pregnancy. My body temperature is higher. And so I always get at least 15 minutes, but it usually ends up being around 30. And even if it's overcast, you're still gonna get some of those benefits. So I would definitely encourage you to just step outside for a 10-minute walk after your meal. Do that twice a day. I lay outside in our chair and I do my shoemaker protocol course, schooling outside under the sun when I can. And so I think 30 minutes is sufficient. Have you had clients heal from chronic monthly migraines that come every cycle? Yeah, for sure. Like more than I could count right now. I would have to pull out a list. I'm already carnivore, have had this with every diet I've tried, never goes away. So, how long have you been carnivore, and how much fat and how much protein are you eating? I would start there. You can do carnivore and still have issues if you're still not fat adapted, if you're not getting enough fat to support your hormones and to lower inflammation in your body. You can still be overeating protein and causing quite high insulin. So there are definitely certain things in carnivore that can cause inflammation and exacerbate problems. Too much dairy, too much pork can really cause issues for people. So for you, I would say maybe book a call with someone. It doesn't have to be me. I would be happy to do it. Since you're already carnivore, we could troubleshoot and dial into what you're actually consuming, because carnivore encompasses a lot of different things. Lion diet is different, right? It's just meat, salt, and water. Carnivore is animal foods. A lot of animal foods could be making that worse for you. And then the timing also is really important. You've got to get it, give it at least 3 months to see if things have improved, because especially when it comes to women's cycles, it takes a little while of doing the right thing to see the results. Like for women who have lost their cycle, it takes 6 months of doing the right thing before you actually get a bleed, before you actually shed blood. And so you kind of just have to stay consistent and hang in there. So I know you've tried a lot of things, but carnivore, animal-based, it has to be the best thing for you, because look, animal foods contain all the nutrients that our body needs, and in the most bioavailable form. Your body needs nutrients to heal, to support a healthy cycle. So you're not doing that wrong. I would just maybe dial into the specifics. Is avocado in the seed oil group? No one get mad at me for saying this, but yes, it is. It is a seed oil. And I'm going to leave it up to the user. Like, you could type in avocado lipid profile in Google, and that is going to break down the types of fats that make up avocado oil. And so avocado oil is not the same as canola oil, but it is still a seed oil. And olive oil is a seed oil. If that, there's a woman, her name is Kate. Oh man, Kate. Oh, I wish I could remember her name. I was gonna do a pop interview with her, but she kept rescheduling, and she's very busy. But she is the expert on seed oils. Kate Shanahan is her name. She's the one who convinced me that avocado and olive oil are seed oils, and it's like, okay, this makes sense. Olive oil still has 30% linoleic acid, which is inflammatory, so I don't touch olive oil. I'm not afraid of it, but I don't go out and buy it. I don't use it. Avocado oil, I don't know the percentage, but you could look it up. So I prefer, if you want to enjoy some avocado, don't be afraid of it. But I also wouldn't be using avocado spray and avocado oil for your cooking. Why don't you just use animal fat? That's so much better. So that's the balance that I personally find. Let me check YouTube. Greetings from Moldova. I was wondering if you know why you could still be insulin resistant on a strict high-fat carnivore diet. It takes time. That's the answer, is that it takes time. For some people, longer. There are other things that cause insulin resistance, like you're not sleeping enough, you're not getting enough deep sleep, you're stressed, you're really stressed out. So insulin resistance comes from so many different things, and eating a lower insulin diet certainly helps a lot, but your body is working out the things that it needs to in the priority and the order that it needs to, and that can take time. And so for you, I'd say keep giving it time. Also, high fat, people think that fat doesn't raise insulin. It doesn't when you're eating it, but it raises insulin 24 hours after you've eaten it. So fat still can raise your insulin. And so that's something to think about. If you're doing high fat, like 60 grams of protein and 200 grams of fat, you actually might be better off raising your protein. A lot of people think that high fat is the best way to reverse insulin resistance, and it's a great way to do it, but hear me out. Protein is needed to be insulin sensitive. So if you are eating 60 grams of protein or 70 grams of protein per day, just know that you're gonna have to introduce more protein to heal that insulin resistance. This isn't coming from me, this is coming from Benjamin Bickman and other people that I've studied who I really trust with this stuff. Benjamin Bickman is the expert on insulin, all things insulin, and protein is needed for insulin sensitivity. So don't be afraid of the protein. It's important to get higher fat than protein for sure. But some people, I think, take it a little too far and they get stuck. And everyone is different. Some people do well with the lower protein approach, but I would encourage you to play around with more. In electrolyte supplements is calcium. Is it safe to supplement calcium? It depends on the supplement, but Redmond Rheolite, yes. So is it a natural source of it? Excuse me. If they're adding calcium, you need to know where it's coming from. That's what it boils down to. What is your opinion on eating low oxalate foods? I think it's really important. That was a game changer for my healing. I was keto for 15 years before doing carnivore, and I almost dug myself into my own grave. And so removing the noise was really important. I had to remove the keto foods and just eat the animal foods. I wasn't eating junk. It was like avocado and baby spinach and almond milk, like tons of turmeric. I was using turmeric. I had it in bulk, and because I thought it was so good for me. So oxalate can really harm a lot of people. It is a poison. It does affect everyone to some degree. Some people don't even notice it, and they really don't have to be extra careful. Some people really notice it, and they really have to be extra careful. It also catches up with you later on. So personally, I am always running a counter of how much oxalate I've had every day, and I'm very mindful of it. And that's one of the top tips I give to all of my clients. If you are not going to do strict carnivore, then just keep in mind low carb, low oxalate. Those are the two main things to think about, because those are the two main things that are assaulting people. What I meant to say, and excuse me, is a long-term issue of having no appendix because of the function of the appendix. In my own experience, after having that removed, my health got worse. It could be that your body took a hit when you had it removed, which is what I was saying before. Your body was created to adapt. This is why people without gallbladders, your body will adapt, but you have to give it time. My mom gave away a kidney, and you would think that would really hurt her for the rest of her life, but it doesn't. She just needed time to adapt. So I would definitely give it time and support it with the proper nutrients. Thoughts on estrogen dominance and incorporating veggie with DIM to bind estrogen? So I don't think that it's a stupid idea. I just think that if you stop eating estrogenic foods, then you won't have an issue. So like carnivore, you won't be running into that. And if you had estrogen dominance to begin with, you will be correcting your hormones. You'll probably end up with higher testosterone than most of your male friends. That's my situation, and it's great. It's not like I have like super high testosterone, but it's very healthy. And my estrogen and prolactin and progesterone, all of those balanced out. And thinking about where I came from, I was like, I had no hormones. I was 69 pounds. All of it came back and balanced out. So if you have estrogen dominance, you just want to eat in a way to support your hormones. I don't think you need to go the extra mile and add in vegetables. If you want that variety, then go for it. I don't think it's hurtful unless you have candida or some type of overgrowth, in which case that vegetation can feed it and exacerbate it. So kind of depends on your whole set of circumstances. I think that's all I wanted to say. I just think that using veggies and plants is tricky because some of them bind to estrogen, but then if you start getting to things like sesame, sesame is estrogenic highly. Flax is highly estrogenic. There are so many plant foods that can really cause estrogen dominance in the first place. And so for a lot of people, it's simpler to just cut it all out, eat your animal fats, and you will thrive hormonally. Oops. Does the timing of consuming supplemental collagen since it is an incomplete protein, should it be consumed with other protein to maximize nutrition? Yes. So collagen is not a complete protein. It doesn't contain all of the amino acids. It's an incomplete amino acid profile. So it has a lot of benefits, and if you want to consume it on its own, that's fine, but don't count that towards your protein for the day. It does not count as a complete protein. So when I consume collagen, I'm making it either in a shake with Equip Foods Prime Protein, which is beef protein isolate, it's complete protein, or I'm putting it in Greek yogurt, which is also a complete protein. So if you're just putting it in your coffee, just know that that is not, it's not a complete protein. I don't think it's going to trigger muscle protein synthesis. It certainly should not replace protein after a workout. It doesn't work like that. Sorry, this thing is kind of being wonky. If I buy frozen meat at the supermarket, is that non-aged meat? No. No. It means it's been frozen. It's actually pretty difficult to find non-aged meat. Any type of beef is minimally aged for 30 days. Even companies like US Wellness Meats, last time I checked, they were aging their beef for 30 days minimum. And that's just the typical process. So any meat at the supermarket, I would be truly in awe if you found non-aged meat at the supermarket. It's going to be very obvious that it's non-aged. You have to seek that out. What do you think about Paul Saladino's animal-based diet? I think he's admirable for doing what works for him. I think he's admirable for being willing to change because obviously he's faced a lot of flack from people for being zero carb, and now he has carbs and sugar, and he's drinking watermelon juice. But I admire people who are willing to change and grow and face the music. He is very active, so not everyone is surfing and working out like he does every day, and so that's something I wish he was a little bit more clear about, is like, yeah, glucose can be beneficial post-workout, but if you're not working out and if you're sedentary and sitting at a desk all day, I really don't think you need to be drinking watermelon juice. So that's my stance. I just wish he was a little more clear about that. But I believe that he incorporated fruits originally because his testosterone was suffering on the carnivore diet and his electrolytes. And that also frustrates me because the electrolyte issue actually usually stabilizes once you're fat adapted. So I don't know what all he had going, but I think it works for him, and that's fine. He has a right to do whatever he wants. I just don't think it's good for everyone. I think that a lot of people would feel worse doing what he does, and obviously a lot of people look up to him and are going to try to mimic what he's doing, and I don't think they'll have great results. Some might, some I don't think they will. So that's the part that makes me a little, like that's unfortunate, but I have no bad feelings towards him. I actually reached out to interview him. If you are sensitive, dairy, milk, cheese, and butter, eggs, they are your trigger migraines. They trigger your migraines. What then should I eat? Only meat? It's so boring. Yeah, I would eat only meat. It's less boring when you have a lot of cuts. I ate only meat for a whole year, and then the 2 years after that, it was mostly only meat. I'm talking, I added shirataki noodles. I added some cilantro. I didn't even have my first slice of strawberry until my spring retreat of 2022. So it was really only meat for, pretty much only meat for almost 3 years. And it's not boring if you get better meat. So yeah, it'll be boring if you're eating ground beef every day for a lot of people. For some people, they can do that. For me, that would be very boring. So Billy Doe Meats is my, it's my solution. They have lamb bacon, they have goat ribs, they have neck, they have sweetbreads, they have boneless lamb sirloin. Like, you can have a different cut, 3 different cuts at each meal. And then you get the broth from making the bone-in meat. It's incredible. And you really just don't miss it. You feel totally satiated. So I would say mix up the types of meats that you're eating. If you can have seafood, that would be a great variety. I love the wild red Argentinian shrimp from Costco. They taste like lobster. Salmon, mix it up. And when I got bored, when I was being very strict, I would take myself to Whole Foods, get some beef short ribs, flanken style, get some, octopus, try something new. And it doesn't have to be like you're spending a bunch of money. Just get a couple of samples, and it really just helps to mix it up. Um, try different things. Try making the meat popcorn or the crispy things by Michaela Peterson. It's basically just pressure cooked meat that is shreddable, and then you pressure cook it, and then you shred it, and you put it in your air fryer with fat on top, and you air fry it, toss it, air fry it more until it's crispy, and that is delicious. So get creative with textures and variety. It can work. Is meat really acidic, as they say, and cause inflammation? Meat is acidic, and your stomach wants the acidic environment. It is not inflammatory. This is a total lie. The whole pH diet is such a scam. You couldn't even change the pH of your stomach like that if you wanted to, the way that they talk about it. Your stomach wants to be acidic. It's not inflammatory. Thank you, and I know I need to be hopeful and not think negatively. Sometimes my thoughts get me. Thanks again. You're welcome. It's important to be able to talk about those things, and for the people I have coached who lost their appendix and went through a hard time, it's the same story. Obviously, it's scary when you're not getting better and you're not feeling well, and you kind of feel like this is something that I can't undo. Just know that it does get better, and it's important to talk about it too. I'm at work, my boss is not there, no client at the moment, and I am free to listen to this live. This is no coincidence. Aw, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. I've been carnivore 1.5 years, still dealing with estrogen problems. I also have Lyme and mold toxicity, so I need to be patient. The Lyme and especially the mold toxicity will do a ditty on your hormones. So you've got to be patient, definitely, and focus on those. The mold toxicity, also be sure that you are, I just hope that you're working with someone, because that can be tricky. Lyme as well. It's okay to mix meat with little vegetables. It depends on the person. So a lot of my clients do fine with a little bit of vegetation, but it's garnish. You're not eating vegetables as, 80% of your plate, or even 20%. It's like 5%. It's garnish, it's variety. And, like at my retreats, I make low carb squash. They are 4 carbs per pound, so they're low carb, they're 0 oxalate. And so why not? It's just fiber. So for a lot of people, it's okay. As I mentioned earlier, if you have an active candida issue, I would avoid it because it can feed candida. Candida will feed off of any vegetation, even romaine lettuce. Are there many differences in the nutritional profiles of lamb liver versus beef liver? There are. I think that beef liver has more B12, and there are slight differences, nothing huge. I would just get lamb because it's more palatable. Both are going to be full of nutrients. Both will still be the most nutrient dense thing you could eat. I don't think that one is more nutrient dense than the other. I just think that they have a little bit of variability in terms of the nutrients that they carry. Do we have to take betaine HCl at the beginning when we have been grown up on vegetarian diet? You don't have to do anything. It could help you. If you struggle to digest protein, if it feels really heavy in your stomach and you feel like it's a brick that sits there forever, there could be a couple things going on. You should be sure that you're eating enough fat, getting enough electrolytes, but HCl, hydrochloric acid, can be very helpful. I actually prefer that to a bunch of other digestive enzymes that people like to take. It's just going to help your stomach be more acidic. So I don't think it hurts in the first couple of months. For a lot of people, that is helpful. But I think that if you are still leaning on that after 60 days, you need to look into it further. There's something going on, because your whole body will adapt. When you stop eating vegetables, your digestive enzymes will change. Your internal organs will adapt to what you're doing. Your gut will adapt, your microbiome. And so I would say give it 60 days. If you still feel like you need to take that to digest protein, there's something else probably going on. Ooh, has some Newegg balm here. This is the vanilla. Smells so good. Is there research to show how carnivore diet affects mood? There's a ton of research, and Sean Baker had a lot to do with it. Just Google it or go on Revero Health, Revero. That's Sean Baker's website. And they have like a whole search index of things that people have healed and addressed with the carnivore diet. And they have lots of mental things. So there is research. And I'm really glad that there is. And there should be more because it's huge. It's life-changing for people. There's also a lot of research on exercise and mood. Huge research that exercise works better than any antidepressant. And I even follow, some of my clients, I follow them, and after we work together, I still like to see their stories and stuff. And one of them said exercise does work better for her than any antidepressant she's ever taken. Good morning, Amanda. My friend Amanda just had a beautiful, beautiful baby. Still have 3 people on YouTube. It's a miracle. You guys are so quiet over here. It's kind of creepy. So I've been here for 30 minutes, which means I probably still have 20 minutes. Tyler and I are going to therapy, and then we're going to Fogo today. Sort of an early celebration for buying a house. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Be sure I haven't missed any questions. I guess going further on the research for mood disorders and carnivore, there is research, and then just speaking from personal experience, I really suffered with mood disorders, and people like to focus on what they can see. So obviously people are like, wow, you were 69 pounds and now you're healthy and even pregnant, but I had really bad mood disorders. I had OCD. I used to self-harm. It was an OCD thing more than anything. I used to pull out my own eyelashes. I had really bad ADHD. I had narcolepsy. I had insomnia, really bad anxiety, and some depression. And so I tried Wellbutrin. That gave me really bad nightmares. I tried Prozac. I ended up taking clonazepam, which is a benzopidine, for 13 years. And I took Adderall at increasing dosages for those 13 years, as well as Ambien. And I just felt like a robot. I was just running on speed during the day, which is Adderall. It's literally legal speed. And then knocking myself out at night. And I lost a lot of my personality to those medications. And when I went carnivore, I felt the 2 things that I noticed within the first 2 weeks were better mood and better energy. And my OCD tendencies dwindled away quickly. The ADHD dwindled away. The fact that I can sit here and do a live and engage in conversation with people, and just like this lifestyle that I'm doing right now wouldn't have been possible before. I struggled so much with my mental health, and I just don't talk about it as much because that's not what everyone wants to talk about. But carnivore is so powerful, and I've worked with a lot of people for severe depression, and getting off those medications, if you're on them, can be a doozy. Really difficult, but you can do it, and there is hope, and those people always see the other side. So just a little bit of hope. I was having bowel movements every 2 to 3 days. Now I'm having them once daily, eating a little more than before. Yeah, sometimes eating more is the key. Especially when you go carnivore, it can be easy to not eat enough because it is very satiating, especially when you're eating steak. Steak is very filling. I could eat so much more ground beef compared to steak, especially when I first started this. And so if you're not eating enough, you definitely won't be going to the bathroom enough. So I'm glad to hear that. A bowel movement every day keeps the doctor away. I'm not afraid to talk about poop over here. So you are saying eating only meat for a few months would heal my diseases, food sensitivities? No one can guarantee anything for you, but I think that would be a great idea. So food sensitivities, food intolerance or sensitivities come from when you ate food during a time that your gut was permeable, and so that food, those food particles leached into your bloodstream, and then you had an immune response. And so that food will show up on your food intolerance test. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll never be able to eat said foods again. It means that you need to heal and seal your gut, and then you should be able to consume those. I've worked with people who had such severe dairy allergies that they needed to carry an EpiPen, and by the time we're done working together, they can eat dairy again. You've got to heal and seal the gut, and this way of eating is a great way to do it. And then in addition to that question was, and then I can eat anything. So no. I made a YouTube video on introducing real food. That's what it's called. And my point of the video is I've been able to reintroduce so many different foods, but I can't eat everything. If you just say I can eat anything, no. Like going into the grocery store and getting Pop-Tarts and Doritos is not going to be sustainable, I don't think. For some people, they can get away with it. I don't get it. But I don't think that you should go and do things that are going to just literally injure your gut. Now, you should be able to go back to eating whole, real foods. Yes, that is repairable. Is there also a good resource for fertility and pregnancy on carnivore diet? We're trying to get pregnant and I need a reliable source for info. Google isn't always open to narratives, other narratives. Yeah, don't go to Google. Kelly Hogan, Nisha Berry are the two ones that come to mind. And Kelly was the strictest to my knowledge. She's had multiple carnivore pregnancies. And so I would just look her up. I'm sure she has YouTube videos on it. I would go to YouTube and search carnivore pregnancy and just watch those instead of Googling it, because Google will be like, this is a bad idea. So yeah, I would do that. And I will just speak to you from my experience with clients. Carnivore has been the best thing for people who are trying to get pregnant and who have struggled with fertility. It has been the best thing. It's been the best thing for women who lost their cycle to get their cycle back. It is the best thing for your hormones. You've got to be sure you're eating enough. That is where people run into issues. How do you make steak that is not hard and chewy but nice and soft? Well, I would definitely get a good quality steak, and I personally like to cook it from frozen in the air fryer at 400 degrees, about 8 minutes each side, and that's my favorite way to cook steak. It's incredible. But you've got to get a good steak. So chuck steak is very tough and chewy. You could go for ribeye or strip or fillet or T-bone. So the source really does matter. If that animal was stressed out, it will be tougher meat. That's part of why I love Billy Doe meats. It is halal, so they are holistically raised, and you can taste that in the animal. You can tell that animal lived a happy life because it's just abundant in nutrients. It produces the best broth, and the meat is so tender. It's incredible. So the source is probably also really important there, but you got to know what type of cut you're working with. You could always try, I don't know if sous vide is an option for you, but the Ninja air fryer makes a version with a sous vide, and that basically cooks your meat in water. You put it in a seal tight bag and then you cook it in water, and that's super tender. It won't be chewy. It like melts in your mouth. Is water kefir okay to add on all meat diet? So kefir is fermented, and that can feed candida. So I personally wouldn't, and it's also too high sugar for some people. It depends on the person. Totally depends on the situation. 3 weeks on carnivore. I want to eat more, but I've heard that too much protein may not be good. Should I add more fat? Stomach can't take rendered fat, nor butter for now. I just realized the tag is still on this. If you had your macros, that would be easier for me to recommend. You might still have quite a range with protein. The range that I use is, you know, at max 1.2 grams of protein per pound of desired body weight. Minimum 0.8 times your lean body mass. So that's a pretty broad range for most people to work with. I will say that there was a season during my healing where I craved more protein. I knew I was craving protein, not fat, and so I bought a bunch of strip steaks on sale. I got a primal cut from the fresh market because they had a sale. And I would eat like 3 of those strip steaks on top of my dinner. And I knew I was way going over protein beyond what was necessary for my body, but I was craving it. And very shortly after that season, it was about 2 months, I reversed the hypothyroidism that I had. And so I really think that my body was demanding what it wanted and needed to heal. Sometimes that will happen. It kind of depends on the situation. You could be craving more protein because you're not fat adapted as well. So that can also get you into trouble. So another situation where I would want to actually sit down and talk with you and troubleshoot. And then how to add more fat, try raw suet. If your stomach can't take rendered fat or butter, try raw suet. It is not the most lovely thing to eat, but I guarantee it will help you with the digestive issues. How do you season your meat? I mostly just use salt, Redmond real salt. I also really love Keto Rubs. It's a small company. They have 3 blends and they're incredible. They have one called herb salt, they have one called fire salt, and then they have a barbecue rub. Sometimes I use the Redmond real salt seasonings, you know, for my taco meat. They have a taco seasoning, but 98% of the time I'm using Redmond real salt. I also love fresh rosemary from my garden. I love to sear things in butter and rosemary and salt. So that's what I do. Fresh herbs really are awesome. 13 grams of ground beef a day. So I am on a different metric system. How many actual macronutrient grams of protein is what I would want to know. I don't want to know your meat by weight, because 1,300 grams of ground beef versus 1,300 grams of lamb are going to be two totally different stories in terms of how much protein you're actually eating, the macronutrient. And so I only work with grams, macronutrient grams, that is. Can this cure my asthma and allergies? Yes. That is one of the main things that people speak to when they do the carnivore diet. Definitely, definitely, definitely. All right. So I probably have about 5 more minutes. Meat that has dextrose, antioxidants, ascorbic acid, sodium, ascorbate. Can I eat that still? Store-bought. I mean, I wouldn't eat it regularly. I wouldn't throw it out. You know, it doesn't have anything like, it doesn't have seed oils. It doesn't have poison in it, but it's really not optimal. They shouldn't have to add, dextrose is sugar. They shouldn't have to add that, and then they're adding some preservatives, which are not the best, but also not the worst in my opinion. And so I wouldn't throw it out, but I also wouldn't keep buying it. Okay, I think probably around 240, sorry about the noise, 240 grams of protein. And how tall are you is my next question, and what is your ideal body weight? So once I know how much this person ideally would weigh, I can help a bit further. What's your advice for someone who has chronic daily headaches? Try carnivore. Try even ketovore. So it's inflammation. It could be a million different things, but lowering inflammation it's really important to lower insulin to some degree. And so incorporate intermittent fasting, lower your carbs if you're eating them, up your saturated animal fat, and dig deeper if you've already done that. It could be hormonal imbalance. It could be something else going on that you've got to look at. So if you go outside with family, you can never eat outside because they all cook in seed oils. How to handle this? No, you just ask for them to not cook it in seed oils. When you go to a restaurant, you ask them to clean the grill and to not use oil. It's really not hard. The only place you won't be able to eat is a vegan restaurant because they don't have meat. But you can go to McDonald's or Wendy's, and honestly, you don't even have to have them clean the grill. They're not going to be using seed oils on the grill for burger patties. I ask them to clean the grill because I'm extra picky. Tyler doesn't. And then any traditional restaurant, you've got to be sure that they're not pre-marinating the meat. And so I usually call ahead so I don't have to have the conversation at the table with my friends, but call ahead and ask to speak with the chef or the manager and say, which of your meats are pre-marinated because I don't touch any oils. I want just the meat. And then you'll know what your options are. And then you just ask no oil. So I'm undernourished due to diseases, recovering now. Ideal body weight is 70 to 75 kg. Fast metabolism, always ate a lot. Okay, so what is that in pounds? What is 75 times 2.2? Okay, so it actually sounds like you're probably eating an appropriate amount of protein. But with more context, if you're undernourished and you're recovering now, your body wants the protein. So what I would say to you is you're already eating an appropriate amount. You're not way overshooting it. What I would say to you is if you are healing and you know you're stabilizing and you're craving that protein, increase your protein by a couple of ounces per week. Don't do anything extreme so that you can allow your digestive enzymes to adapt and your, even your stomach acidity and all that good stuff so that your digestion is not interrupted. But also try to increase your fat with your protein. What you don't want is you're eating more protein than fat every day. And for someone who's 5'9", you have a job. You have a lot of protein and fat to eat every day to maintain your body. And so the raw suet, I think, is going to be really helpful for you. Seriously, check that out. If you struggle to digest fat, that is a really, really great option. And then increase your protein as you crave it. I'm literally working with another client right now who is craving more protein than she technically needs or was recommended by another carnivore person. And I said, go for it. Just increase slowly. And she's finally not waking up at night hungry. Sometimes you just got to lean into your body, intuition, and listen to it. Just try to keep that fat higher. Try to keep that ratio of fat to protein equal as you increase the protein, if that makes sense. And I really believe that will help you. What do you think of Frank Tufano? Carnivore destroys liver, and he is eating now legumes, starches with meat. I think Frank Tufano has said a lot of things that don't make any sense. I don't think anything about it. It depends on how you do carnivore. Carnivore literally saved my liver and so many other people. And that is backed by research. And so I haven't watched his video, and I personally have no desire to. I watched his stuff for like 2 weeks, and then I was like, this guy is not stable in anything that he says. He's not consistent, and I don't, he has a lot of ideas that just come like out of left field. So there may be some truth to what he's saying for sure. I'm not saying that he, offers worthless information or anything like that. I have no right to say that, but I guess I don't really have an opinion on what he's saying about that. All I know is that carnivore has really helped people to heal their livers, including mine. When I drop out my carbs, I get lethargic and muscle weakness. I eat some carbs and I have energy, can work out again. I was strict carnivore for 6 months and had lots of issues. Yeah, so it sounds like you never got fat adapted, which is unfortunate, and a lot of people run into that. He says protein is more digestible with carbs. I don't see that. he might be getting into like feeding the microbiome and things like that. But your body adapts. Like I said, it totally adapts to eating no fiber or no carbs. There are some people who prefer to eat some carbs. Like I've definitely had clients who couldn't break through the constipation issue, and so they started eating a couple of blueberries after their meal and their digestion was fixed. So I don't know where he's coming from with that. It could just be a bio-individual thing, and this is also the danger of listening to so many different people, because we all have differences. What works perfectly for me doesn't work perfectly for you, and I really try to always be clear about that. You have to look at yourself. Some people would be wrecked by adding carbs, and that's a fact. Am I just not able to do keto? Tried high fat also and still weak. No, you're able to do keto. It just takes a lot of troubleshooting. So feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to troubleshoot with you. This is 45% of my clients are people who tried carnivore and it just didn't work. I worked with someone who was carnivore for 16 years and he was still running on glucose. 0 carbs for 16 years, but he was still running on glucose because he was stuck in gluconeogenesis, and we had to make some tweaks. And sure enough, once he was fat adapted, he was great. So you're not alone in that. There are just a lot of different variables that play into transitioning. Thank you so much. I think that is around 160 pounds. One last question. How to boil meat and keep the fat in it? Oh, I don't know if you can. I really don't think that you can. The fat will cook out and it'll become tallow if you let it solidify in the liquid that you cooked it in. I mean, you could do sous vide, which would be in a bag, but I think it's usually going to cook out into the water. Thanks for the live. Have a nice day and fun at Fogo. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. What's up, Andres? All right. And I'm curious why, John, you're boiling your meat. I have a feeling you're doing it for lower histamine, which is wise. You might do well with cooking your meat from frozen in your air fryer. That will also keep the histamine content really low and keep a lot more of the fat intact. But like if I boiled a lamb chop, a lot of that fat would be rendered and lost. If you air fry it from frozen, it's cooked perfectly and intact. Okay, well I think I got all the questions and it's probably close to time. I'm almost at the 1 hour mark. Any other questions? I will take one more and then head out. I wonder if I can tag off. I can't tell you how many times I've walked out of the house, gone to church with a tag on my dress, and Tyler has to tell me. Fried foods irritate stomach lining. Okay, so even air fried foods. Yeah, so what I would do if I were you is get leaner meats and boil them so you're not wasting the fat, and then use raw suet as your fat source. That's what I would do. And you'll get to the point where you can tolerate those. I was the same way. I ate raw for about 2 years because nothing felt good on my stomach. So I ate raw meat for 2 years. How much water should you drink? I think that half of your body weight in ounces is actually a pretty good recommendation. But overall, listen to your body. It will tell you when it's thirsty. A lot of people don't listen to that though. So half of your body weight in ounces. This is 48 ounces. To get ahead of the game, I drink a whole one of these every morning, and then I try to drink a whole nother one, before I have dinner, and that way I'm pretty much hydrated, and I don't have to, chug right before I go to bed. It's definitely a habit that needs to be formed. Can I drink tea on all meat diet? depends on the tea. So certain types of tea have more oxalate than others. Black tea has a decent amount of oxalate. Um, the safe ones would be fruit teas and herbal teas. So like peppermint, hibiscus. I love the passion fruit tea from Tazo. It's a cold brew, so you can just stick the bag in cold water. I love to use that to make electrolyte gummies or jello. And it's just a nice way to add variety is tea. I think a lot of people use that when they're struggling with cravings. You're very welcome. I really hope that I helped. I think you're gonna figure it out, and I'm glad you're on the upward slope. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here and joining me and asking your questions. Please reach out if you're interested in my retreat. Like I said, it's filling up and it's around the corner. I am so excited for fall. I don't know about you guys. I took a poll the other day and it was almost half and half where people were loving summer and some people were ready for fall. I love the sun, but I'm really ready for fall. And I'm just so excited. This retreat's going to be incredible. Oh, one more question. Is it better to go to sleep with empty stomach or full for better sleep? So if your stomach is full and you have just had a meal, your insulin will also be elevated. And your insulin will interfere with melatonin, serotonin, and human growth hormone, which is, those are the hormones that should be rising when you're sleeping. So I recommend finishing your last meal 3 to 4 hours before you go to sleep. The best I ever slept was when I stopped eating at 2:30 in the afternoon. Now I finish eating by 5:30, very latest. So, yeah, having your stomach full before bed is actually horrible advice. You shouldn't be starving, but you should have eaten enough during the day to not be hungry when you're going to bed. Chamomile tea is usually fine, unless you're allergic to it. All right. Bye, you guys. Have a great day. Thank you. Have a great day.